In 2023, we have more choices than ever when it comes to anime. Back in the day, you pretty much could only watch whatever Toonami or one of the other networks picked up. Even farther back, if you didn't have a Blockbuster or a movie store, you couldn't watch anything. Now, we're blessed in comparison, but our first world problem is that most of the choices are trash or mid. When you look back on years like 2016, you don't remember the bad stuff, you remember the good shit. You remember the first season of Stranger Things, get nostalgic for games like Overwatch and Pokemon Go. It's safe to say that the media we consume is just as big of a part of our years as anything else. So I'm picking 10 anime that shaped my year, that mean a lot to me, that I'll look back on a few years from now with a single tear in my eye, remembering the good times. Maybe it's not the most underrated list. You've probably heard of a lot of these shows before, but if there's one that for some reason you haven't started, one show that you pick up and create even half as many of the memories, fun, and inspiration that I got from it, I'd consider that a dub. One of the most powerful parts of any TV show is when it can get you to suspend your disbelief. When whatever is going on screen is so engaging, so captivating that in the moment you don't think about the shit you know, or try to predict what's gonna happen next because of some bullshit like plot armor. If you've seen enough stuff, you know the main character probably isn't gonna die in a random fight in the first season. But the best anime can convince you to worry about it anyways. The best anime gets you immersed. Heavenly Delusion is one of those shows. Its main characters, Kiriko and Maru, are part of the Lawless generation, a group of people born after whatever apocalyptic event devastated this world so much. They don't remember what the world was like before the disaster, only the truth of what it's become since then. And the core of Heavenly Delusion is getting to uncover that mystery with them. You meet people and have just as much of a reason to question whatever their true motives are as Kiriko does. You get to see symbols, thoughts, and ideas, and maybe even piece stuff together that the main characters can't yet. Nobody in the show has all the answers, but everyone has something to hide. And as Kiriko and Maru fight to overcome every challenge this post-apocalyptic world throws at them, you have a revelation. It's not just the mystery, the fact that the show constantly gets you to ask questions, or that Japan finally managed to drop a baddie that isn't 14. Through every challenge they face, through all the shit they go through together, it builds a genuine friendship, bond, and attachment between not only them, but you. You come to find out that you just like adventuring with two people who genuinely enjoy each other. Some of the best moments in the show are just when Maru and Kiriko are chilling together. But that very same bond, that attachment in a world like this, is dangerous. Sosu no Frieren has rocketed to the top of my anime list, but unlike some of the other trendy anime who managed to reach the same heights and fall off, Frieren has pulled up with the chair and parked its ass there for the entirety of its first season run so far. I'm sure the Fullmetal Alchemist fanboys will come to knock it down eventually, but whether you like it or not, this little elf girl has captivated the hearts and minds of the people and separated itself from the generic fantasy anime slop we get every season, and it's because of one reason: the characters. A lot of the characters in Frieren on the surface come off as generic. Cold, quiet, unfeeling chicks, a gullible but boisterous warrior, an older, corrupt priest. You've seen these fantasy characters before, and immediately you start to make judgments about them. Then you watch an episode, and another, and another. Slowly the show draws you in with its entrancing world, and before you realize it, boom, you're hooked. And not only that, you were completely wrong about the cast. Through exposing their motivations and their dreams, through displaying why they are who they are in the most eloquent ways, it reveals a depth to them and a level of understanding that few other anime are able to reach. You'll love these guys. You know people in real life who on the surface seem cliche, but once you get to know them, it opens up a whole new world, a new side of themselves you'd never thought you'd see. Watching Frieren is like that. It's the anime version of The Office or your favorite sitcom. At the start, it has some impactful moments. It can be funny sometimes, sure, but the good shit, the crack, comes after you're invested. Because the characters have depth, you actually start to care about them. Shit that wasn't funny at all before starts to make you laugh just because of who's doing it. You notice cute little moments that you couldn't have imagined caring about before you watch the show. And once you're in, it opens the door to a whole new world of emotional impact. Unlike other anime, this doesn't usually come with a lot of buildup or a huge fight. It's more subtle than that. But it's in those moments that the show is its most powerful. When it can get you to just pause for a second, be introspective, or just think, damn, that's some real shit. And you're definitely not sacrificing that for entertainment. When it wants to, Frieren can absolutely wow you with its animation, art, and action. The show is wholesome and heartwarming. It fills you with inspiration in a different, gentler way than something like Jujutsu Kaisen, but I love it all the same. Confucianism, concubines, cockless motherfuckers. That's right, baby, it's Imperial China. Meet Mao Mao, a local apothecary working under her dad at a brothel, when one day before leaving, her dad says, "Be careful, sweetie, you know the kidnappings are on the rise now." I've seen this flag before. 2 steps outside the house and yeah, she's kidnapped, all right. But after getting sold off though, she's just like, fuck it, we ball, I guess. No tears, no emotional impact. Weird. The rear palace is where she was sold off to. Basically the emperor's breeding ground. Ugh. With thousands of concubines and a few of those cockless fellows from earlier, this is one of the most unique settings I've seen from an anime this year. Yeah, in part because it's Chinese, but also because of the way that it creates tension. There's no curses or demons who are all bad, but everyone is plotting on each other constantly to increase their status. You never know when someone is trying to poison you, and for commoners like Mao Mao, one simple fuck up could be a beheading. Everything is life or death. You can see it in the way Mao Mao works. The episode will say nothing, but slowly, bags start to fill in her eyes and she starts to lose weight. Even with that danger, Mao Mao can't quell her thirst for knowledge and justice. I mean, seriously, have you ever seen someone this excited about drugs? Which ends up getting her promoted to court apothecary, and that's when you realize Mao Mao is a badass. This is a strong, independent Chinese woman. She's got a brain on her, and she's not afraid to slap the black off a bitch if she got to. Every court illness and poison attempt is like a puzzle for her. It's entertaining to watch her try and solve these mysteries, look for motives, and piece the story together in a way you never could have expected, but it can be sad sometimes. Just because Mao Mao can find the answer doesn't necessarily mean it's one she wants to tell everyone. Not every crime is done for a bad reason, especially in a society like this where women can be fed shit burgers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Mao Mao battles with the truth of these mysteries and her own sense of justice. She knows she doesn't have the power to change everything systemically wrong with her society. Remember not putting up a fight when she was kidnapped? But even knowing that, she can't help but try and make things more tolerable. That only lights my fire of respect for her as a character more. Being forced to look at the world from a realistic lens and still try to make the most of it is something we can all aspire to do. If you've been around the block for a while, you know it's kind of rare for an anime to have a female character written this well. Mao Mao is written like a person first. She doesn't immediately fall in love with a guy because she's hot, and she's never reduced to a few tropes. It's even rarer that you have an entire cast of characters this likable and layered. Watch Apothecary Diaries, I promise you won't regret it. Being an adult can be rough. Imagine investing your entire life in education only to finally get out of school and immediately get slapped with a job you hate. Slaving down to the bone just to barely scrape by, only to end every day just to wake up to the same meaningless cycle again. Unfortunately, this is a feeling a lot of people can relate to. Akira is one of them. His job sucks, his boss sucks, the love of his life is getting abused at the office. Then, on top of all of that, a fucking zombie apocalypse breaks out. Anybody else in the same situation would think, alright, that's enough, I'm clocking out. But Akira sees opportunity in this apocalypse. Compared to living like a wage slave, this world looks renewed with life, color, and adventure. The routine that kept him shackled for so long is completely shattered. I mean, who cares about work when there's crackhead zombies climbing through the vents? Akira turns this wasteland into his own playground. Zombies explode into rainbows of color. The show looks amazing and is insanely funny. You initially fall in love with Zom 100 because of that fun, but where it stands out among the hordes of zombie anime and manga is how it's able to balance the absurdity of turning a zombie apocalypse into a game with delicate depictions of trauma, regret, and the bleak reality of their situation that just drags the characters back down to earth. Between the laughs, it's a beautiful reminder that life is about perspective and what you make of it. Watch Zom 100. It was on hiatus for a while, but it should be finished by the time this video is out. Yeah, I know. Jujutsu Kaisen on a recommendation list? Well, I'd be damned. You really had to dig deep to find that one. Who hasn't heard of Jujutsu Kaisen before? If you ain't been living under a rock, you probably know that JJK has amazingly animated action, an incredibly over-the-top but stellar power system, and the best villains on TV for my money. But what if I told you what truly makes Jujutsu Kaisen special to me, what separates it from a generic shonen, and what makes it worth putting on this list despite the popularity isn't any of that? Every moment, every truly impactful moment of the Shibuya incident arc is underscored by these scenes of tranquility. In contrast to the intense, dramatic moments of motherfuckers throwing hands with curses to save their lives, here, not a lot is being said. The music usually cuts to a more relaxed tone, if any is playing, and not a whole lot is really happening. But it's here when the characters feel the most real. It's those little moments of peace and serenity that make them relatable. You know how it feels to lose a friend but cherish the memories? It's those moments that bridge the gap between a character in an action show you like and a person that you love. It's those moments that somehow, in one of the darkest shows, can be a reminder to appreciate the small things, appreciate the time you spend with your family, and appreciate your friends. So if you don't normally like shonen, or you drop this show for whatever reason, I think that if you pay attention to what the characters have to say when shit isn't popping off, how they think, how they show you they're feeling, you might just uncover something beyond just another popular shonen. I feel like I could make a whole video on this, so if that's something you want to see, leave a comment. Mitsuha is a normal country bumpkin moving out of the sticks to big town Tokyo. She has normal looks, normal athletics. Nothing about her is really special other than the grades. On her first day at school, she gets lost at a train station and starts freaking the fuck out. That's when she bumps into Shima. He helps her find her way to school and tries to calm her down. No big deal, it's just a school entrance ceremony, right? Inspired by that determination, a wave of inspiration washes over Shima and he chases after her. That's what makes Mitsuha special. Skippin' Loafer is a show that perfectly captures how people will say the smallest, most insignificant things ever to them, but for you, it's life-changing. It perfectly captures that feeling of how every little thing when you're a teenager feels like life or death, but in a completely genuine and authentic way. The love stories in this show just slip in so effortlessly because here it feels like the normal part of life that it is instead of some over-the-top, super dramatic, forced harem. Because of that, you don't think as much about the classic romance tug-of-war, and instead questions like, I wonder who he'll end up with, are completely replaced with, is everything alright at home for him? This show is so relatable. You can see parts of your own weaknesses, your own failures in every character. As soon as this chick pops up on screen, you're gonna want to tell her off and slap her upside the head. You might be untrustworthy of this one, and then you remember, they're still only 15. This is some of the same shit you dealt with in high school. Fighting and taking a couple wrong steps is normal, and when they do, they just talk to each other? Let me say that again. This is a romance anime where the characters just talk to each other. No hallway side-eyeing, no milking the tension and slutting it out for 10 episodes. And those conversations carve the way for real growth, for real resonance, It's not just the failures and weaknesses you see in these characters. You start to see your own successes, your own favorite parts of being in high school with them too. Every single episode just fills you with warmth and fuzziness for its short 12-episode run. Skipping Loafer is good for the soul. If that sounds like something you need right now, then I think you should watch it. Do I really need to show you anything else from this show? Undead Unluck is a wild roller coaster of energy. The pacing is disgusting. As soon as you feel like you have a grip of how the show is flowing, you don't. It cuts in a fast, weird, spontaneous way that's almost hard to follow sometimes, but those fast cuts elevate the comedy.
What?
Bro,
Did he do that on command or like?
It stimulates your little Gen Z TikTok brain in all the right ways. Our two main characters, Andy, Undead, and Fuko, Unluck, are both negators. People capable of canceling out something based on their ability. Andy can't die, and anyone Fuko touches gets unlucky. They get really unlucky. The whole goal of the main protagonist is to get Fuko to fall in love with him so they can have sex, and he can get hit with a stroke of unluck so big that it might just be able to kill him. 95% of this show is silly. The show is practically on its hands and knees begging you not to take it seriously. Fights play out like slightly more structured action figure fights between two 5-year-olds. But then there's 5% of the show that's completely different. Between the laughs, between the nonsense, you can see Fuko reinvigorating Andy's belief in people. And you can see Andy slowly trying to pull her out of her shell. And you can't help but root for them. This is a special show because you'll know within 1-2 episodes max if it's something you vibe with. I'm definitely not gonna go as far as to call this show great, but it's been one of the most fun watches of the year for me. Have you ever seen this guy? Let me solo her. Kind of an Elden Ring legend at this point. A man helping people beat the hardest boss in the game with nothing but a jar on his head and a couple katanas. Shangri-La Frontier is like, okay, but what if we turn that into an entire anime? Butt naked ass dude? Check. Only a weird helmet on? Check. Unique concept for an anime? Nah, not really. We've seen tons of virtual reality MMO anime over the years, but where Shangri-La separates itself is in the realism. No, come on, bruh, not that kind of realism. It's not a Discord e-sex show. Realism for a show about video games sounds weird, but remember the last time you were completely sucked into a game? Maybe it was Breath of the Wild, Elden Ring, or Baldur's Gate, where it felt like you could play those games for hours and completely lose yourself in them, not even realizing it before. Oh, it's dark outside? Shangri-La Frontier is somehow able to capture that feeling of immersion, discovering an entirely new world and bring it to the TV screen. There's as much, if not more, love poured into this video game world than most actual fantasy anime. There's amazing detail about the game mechanics, which is then actually used by the characters in the show in creative ways to overcome their challenges and problems the game presents. You can tell this show was written by someone with a real love for gaming and a deep understanding of the medium. I love Sword Art Online for being part of the reason I fell in love with anime again when I was younger, but remember how Kirito used to just pull skills out of his ass only he could use? That doesn't really happen here. The main character, Sunraku, is skilled from how many shitty games he used to play, but it feels more like a personality trait than plot armor. Side characters too feel like faithful versions of real people you can meet online instead of regular anime tropes in a video game setting. Shangri-La Frontier is faithful to its realism, but that faith doesn't come without downsides. There's no real stakes in the show. I mean, it's a video game after all. Characters are not at risk of dying or anything incredibly serious. That'll be a turnoff for some people, but if you've ever played video games extensively, you know that rating can get serious. Hell, I had a girl cuss me out once because I made her miss her turnip price reset in Animal Crossing. For someone like me who's loved video games all my life, that lack of stakes doesn't really affect how I feel about the show at all. Shangri-La Frontier is a fresh take on an incredibly overdone genre and one of the coziest shows to watch this year. You should check it out. If you're anything like me, you see this and go, yeah, I don't know about that one. Oshi No Ko is somehow able to turn that into a compelling drama about the entire Japanese entertainment industry. If you like YouTube, which considering you're watching this video, I'm guessing you do, or if you have any interest at all in movies and TV, you'd probably like this show. It's super eye-opening and really entertaining. But the magic of Oshi No Ko, what gets you to come back, is the B-plot. Why is the trailer for this show so weird? Why do you get the feeling watching this show that there's something hiding behind the sparkle in those eyes? What happened to one of Ai's biggest fans? Vinland Saga is the best parody anime. Wait, Virtue, you're trying to tell me that this is a parody anime? Yeah, I'm telling you that. I don't know how else to describe how Makoto Yukimura was able to take Vikings, something we see so commonly portrayed as this ruthless, bloodthirsty group, and completely turn it into something entirely different. There were allegations that Vinland Saga was dead and the farmland arc was boring and not worth watching. Thorfinn took those allegations and fucking 360 windmilled them. That was the biggest lie of this entire year. Yes, you lose some action. If you're gonna go in it like this guy, nah bro, she fully deserved it. He took good care of her, and the first chance she gets, she tries to escape. This is a guy talking about a slave and a slave owner, by the way. This comment has 150 likes. Like, are we being serious? If you go in it like this guy, of course you're gonna get filtered. But if you can go into it with just a slightly higher level of emotional maturity, losing that action makes way for different kinds of drama and character development. It doesn't come off as preachy, it never feels like the message is repetitive, it just works. It works because Thorfinn was never a badass because he could win every fight or because he'd been through hell. He was a badass because no matter what life threw at him, no matter how much he got knocked down, he found the resolve to get back up and keep trying to live his life the way he wanted to, the way he thought was right. This is the same guy from the first season. He just isn't scared to grow and change his way of thinking and admit he's wrong when he truly believes it. This is the type of anime that'll make you want to get up and go start lifting weights. This is the type of anime that'll just make you want to be a better person. This is the type of anime that got me started watching this medium in the first place, just told in a slightly different way.